Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day it is for you. Welcome to day 6 of the Slow C Yoga Handstand Challenge. I've been putting off videoing for whatever reason I didn't know. Day 6, I had an idea that I wanted to do back bends and handstands, inverted back bends with you guys. That's now going to be for day 7. Day 6, it came to me because I was watching a video on handstands, and I thought a lot of the information was misinformation, and that comes with a disclaimer because I think it's a video or something stimulates people to get on their hands, to feel the connection between hands and shoulders, maybe hands, shoulders, heart, maybe breathing upside down, even inadvertently. People are going to get more comfortable by being on their hands, and that's a huge thing for handstanding. Also, if you're used to handstanding, for developing new areas that you can play with in your handstands, be it twist, be it inverting, be it one arm shifts, it's side bending. Yeah, the more comfortable you start to get in different positions, the more also likely you're probably going to do it again, to work with it, because something will be comfortable about the experience. It won't all be just a bit, I mean, there's a fine line between doing something new and it being a challenge, but also having that area of comfortableness, so that you may want to do it again. If it's something that's just so far out and totally petrifying with no framework for something which is maybe familiar as a base, then it may put people off. I mean, it does. I've seen it happen in different contexts. Be it diving. Recently I've seen people being put off because everything was so new and there wasn't that element of actually just breathe naturally in the beginning. But anyway, so I'm getting a little bit offside. So I'm going to go over something which is quite important because I've seen it as a misinformation, and this actually relates to the world generally. Just watching the news or where is something seen, it's very hard sometimes for people to see something as misinformation. If, for example, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, and people have got like 100 comments below going, "Oh, you're so wonderful," and they seem to have like 1,000 followers. People will all go, "Oh, what they're saying is correct," and that could be from someone being the president of a country to in some other context, someone who's maybe bought a certain amount of followers and then they've really been doing their PR. It doesn't mean the information is accurate or the most useful for a long-term vision maybe of handstanding and developing. It's not to say there won't be some benefits gained from doing certain exercises, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're the most adept at it. From personal experience, the ones I've enjoyed or got the most out of training handstands, and there's been a number of people, it's been a mixture. It's been people who have no yoga background at all and no anatomy background at all, but they've just trained it a lot. So from the inside out, are understanding the anatomy incredibly well. And also people who do a lot of pranayama, so really feel understand the connection of handstands and breath work and the effect on the body mind. I've found one or two of them have come out with some excellent tips when they're sharing in groups and things. It's not to say anyone else is not coming out with good stuff. There's a lot of people coming out with certain things always that are going to be good, and you find those are the ones which make sense to you, but there's certain things which make more sense if you've trained them a long time. An area, it's very easy to give a tip to someone who hasn't really trained something. They'll be like a bit like, "Oh yeah, that's good," but when you've done it a long time in certain ways, you sort of understand quicker actually is what they're saying making sense or not. If someone's handstands haven't improved over a long period of time, the main factor I've seen for that is because they just haven't trained a lot of handstands for regular days and are devoted just to that. And I don't think you can dismiss people who have done that by saying there's more to life. There's people, I think that's a very bad dismissal, because everyone is doing different things in the world and spending time on doing different things. And hopefully that will, whatever they do, will give them some insight into body, mind, spirit exploration. But people who've done it a lot, or some particular skills, generally can have some useful information, or you would hope so, to share. Okay, so this is just to get to specific points. The one I've seen is that fingers should grip the floor in handstands? No, is the basic answer. It's not a rule that if you grip the floor with your fingers in handstands, it will improve your handstands. In handstands, we've worked a lot of exercises over the past 6 days of certain things which you're doing as primary skills. Let's say elevate the shoulders for straight line. Think of expanding the diaphragm, drawing it slightly back, lengthening the sides, side body. So these are basically what I would call the primary actions that you're doing. There are certain things which are not primary, and fingertips gripping the floor is one of them. It's not to say there aren't times when it's useful to grip the floor of your fingers, but it's an action which is a consequence of certain things happening. It's not something to do all the time. So for example, if let's say your shoulders go too far in the handstands, or you feel like you're going to fall backwards, then yes, grip the floor. It provides you, the fingers become like your gears of your handstands. In the other way, generally you're saying straighten your arms in a straight line handstand, but if you're falling back the other way, if you bend your elbows a little bit and push up, you can save yourself. If you join the classes, we do specific drills to cover these kind of situations. If you feel like you're about to fall, you can grip the floor maybe a little bit with one hand, push up more through that one arm to twist you out. You don't necessarily need to grip the floor with the fingers, you can just push more through one hand to get that turning out action. If you're doing planche work, then yes, there's going to be shoulders as they come forwards a lot more, fingertips may have to work or will work a lot more. So basically what I'm saying is that it's a consequence, and that's super important in what you're doing. Is it a consequence, or is it actually a primary action that you're engaged in? Sometimes in a handstand when I'm falling out, I find I just naturally flex a foot and it pulls me back. Ideally it should come a little bit more from the shoulders, but sometimes it happens and I save myself, and I'm pretty good at saving myself sometimes in awkward situations in handstands. If you look at someone doing a handstand, and actually the person or people I've seen giving this advice that you grip the fingers, when I see them doing handstands, they're very unstable in their shoulders. So there's always this like slight rocking backwards and forwards. So for them, gripping the floor with the fingers is a useful thing to keep doing to stop them falling over. They might be better off just working a lot of shoulder stability exercises and other kinds of positions we've done. But because of what else is happening in their body, that consequence is probably present pretty much all the time. So that's super important. Who's the person giving you the tips? And I think that applies to when you're working with people and you're seeing what isn't changing, and hopefully that's exciting as a coach or just for yourself, or what is changing if you're trying to do certain things. What is the step that needs to shift? It's not the fingers are like the secondary thing, you know. And for people I see, if they're always working their fingers, they probably need to work a lot on just, you know, that exercise we've done before, where you've got something in your palm. So if I feel that point, that lightness of balance, which is similar to handstands, everything is pretty stacked. As soon as the blocks start to fall that way, I start to engage my fingers to pull it back, and then I can relax again. So same thing in handstands. What I'd like you to do is just kick up. Remember, this arm for me is a bit weird, but you'll see that. Okay, and then you're going to push up. When you find your balance, relax the fingers. Okay, so as well as the challenge today of just seeing when you're upside down, when you can relax the fingers, and when you need to engage, or when it's helpful to engage, I'm going to show you some different hand positions which will affect the shoulders, affect the lungs, the rib cage, the whole engagement of the back and the side muscles, lats, cervix anterior, everything in the whole extension, just so that you can play with just how, when you shift something, again, where you're trying to find your stability from, your balance from. And the hands are hands turned out, hands turned in, hands close together or far apart, and hands facing back behind you. So for the first one, we're going to do hands turned out, so thumbs facing forward. So So you're pushing up. Think of ribs in, legs engaged, toes pointed. See if you can push up to try and get lighter away from the wall. If you don't, that's cool, but just see, it's going to shift something. It's maybe a different hand position. It affects the shoulders, it affects everything as I mentioned. See what happens. In these new hand positions as well, you might find you do grip the floor a bit more with the fingers as you start to find the instability in the new pose. But as you start to find that line, at the end when I found it, I was like, oh, I can relax my fingers now. I'm in that extended, remember the block image we did earlier. So here we can do hands turned in. So again, I'm pushing up, waist slightly back. And again, as soon as I start to find I'm pushing up that line, there's a softness in the fingers, but I'm keeping that extension up. With the hands turned back, if you're not comfortable in plank with fingers turned back, just to go back to one of the previous options. I love how the grass is cutting right now. So again, this one can be a little bit more tricky to kick up to. You might need to be a bit further away from the wall so you don't just rebound back. I can get quieter as the grass cutter quietens. Okay, so you're pushing up again, engage, try to go back to the principles, shoulders, glutes engage, legs extend, toes reach straight up to the ceiling, like they're reaching for something, and then feeling that. And it's not one I have done for a long time. So again, I'm feeling quite less stable in that, but I'm trying to come back to the principles, the primary things that we're working on in the handstand. Yeah, one other thing I like to cover, if you're kicking up to handstand, the grass cutters come back, you might, unless you're very okay, so here I can relax my fingers, the gripping, because I'm stable. Okay, so today the basic theme is question, and also just see when you can relax certain things. So I demonstrated today that the fingers can relax in a handstand. There may be at points, doesn't mean the knuckles are slightly off the floor. There's a slight gripping for a lot of it, but it's because of my shoulder position, because of my elbows, my shoulders need to come slightly more forwards. But see how much you can relax the fingers. There are times when I was just trying to relax the fingers completely down, and just feel that point. That point will help you so much in your handstands. And also make them a lot more effortless. See when you can relax your jaw, when you can relax the fingers. And that's in everyday life as well. And that's, I think, part of the joy or the beauty of the handstanding, of whatever you're studying, be it anatomy, breathwork, languages, your work is, how can you use it as a tool just to bring attention to the areas which can relax more. When can you relax your fingers? When can you relax your jaw, your forehead? Yeah, and that whole exploration, self-exploration of self, body, mind, spirit, passion, areas which fill you with joy, love. So yes, so question. So important in today's world. Obviously, if someone's speaking gibberish and I don't understand, if I have no experience in Russian, I may think they're speaking Russian if they tell me that. But the more experience or knowledge you have of a subject, it becomes easier to discern. Obviously, if people present things in a way that it's as a doctrine, it's easier if you don't have much experience just to believe what they're saying, and that's not great in many situations. So yeah, keep questioning, enjoy the playfulness of the questioning, enjoy your handstanding. Hopefully the information today and all the days so far and day 7 are useful and fruitful, but question, yeah, if things, if you want, send me questions, ask questions, What's your experience? Is it supported by the tips, or have you discovered something else? And yeah, that's part of the play and the joy of what we're doing, because it's beyond small micro ideas of this is I'm an anatomy, so I'm good at this. It doesn't mean much if there's no connection with the relationship with something else. As I was saying, you may have a great understanding of your physiology in certain physical arts, but you may not be very good at like naming the muscles, but you might know what to engage. So yeah, don't go beyond qualifications when you're listening to people. Is the information fruitful, useful? Is it your experience? And yeah, have fun with it all.